Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Coffee and Chats. My name is Lindsay Giese, and I'm the Executive Director for River Arts, Inc. And today, how the tables have turned. I am joined by the one and only Rauel LaBreche.
Wow. I left my coffee cup in the other room. So imaginary coffee cup, miming. So.
And I say how the tables have turned. We'll get into that later, but normally you're the one interviewing me.
Yes.
I have the power.
Yes. You have been on my show, what, 7, 8 times, something like that. I lost count. I had to start taking my shoes off, which is not good. So I just gave up trying to count.
Yeah. I can't wait
and
to.
So, yeah, it's been fun. Well, we usually do one at least every quarter, it seems, for River Arts to make sure that things are up and coming, are kept, the public is kept aware of what's going on at River Arts.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of weird. I guess I just don't have to think. I can just sit here and have you ask me questions.
Yes, and so my first question is, I like to get a little bit of backstory from all of our guests. So can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Oh gosh, let's see. I grew up in Milwaukee, in Bayview. Then I was there when the satellite school system was first being introduced, where they tried to make different schools specialty areas for different domains, different knowledge areas. And Bayview was chosen as the performing arts school. So we had always had a really strong performing arts program because the choral director there, Ray Dietrich, was just a phenomenal choral director. And we didn't even realize how good he was until they did the bicentennial in Milwaukee, and our choir and show choir were both chosen to be showcased at the bicentennial in the Milwaukee arena. 10,000 plus people there, and we're doing our little show choir thing, and I'm thinking, this is not normal. So
That probably influenced what you went on to college for.
Well, it did, and actually my Star Trek shirt here, you can't quite see USS Enterprise. Star Trek influenced it too. When I was in 7th grade at Gustav Fritschie Junior High School, when walking through a backstage tour of all of the facilities, and there was a lighting panel up there, an old Century Strand lighting panel that had sliders on it for faders that were just like the transporter on Star Trek. I thought, oh, I want to work there. So, and after like 2 years of working on lighting crew and watching like all the stuff going on, because you were up in the balcony, you could see the stage action and run cues. And after like 2 years of doing that, I'm like, I could do that. And my mom, bless her heart, she was the one that said, yeah, why don't you go in front of the stage, behind, instead of being backstage, go in front of the curtain. So I tried out for Rock and Roll, which was a kind of a ripoff of Happy Days at the time, and auditioned and got the leading role, Corn Doggy. So yes, sirree, I was Corn Doggy. So it's basically the Richie Cunningham, part. And there was a Fonzie. Manfred was the Fonzie, and so that kind of that got the ball rolling. And then I went out to did my bachelor's degree at Carroll College, now Carroll University, and we were just a college back then, just a wee little college. But I loved Carroll. It was a small liberal arts college, had like a 14-to-1 student faculty ratio, brilliant professors, had philosophy courses that I just loved with a guy named Tom Williams, who just broke me up, but he made me think a lot. And then got my degree in psychology and in theater. So double majored. And then was going to go into counseling, actually. I was going to be a professional counselor, and had done even some work during my senior year as a peer advisor, and had some pretty sad experiences in that, and started to realize that I was maybe a little too emotional for something like that, because I wasn't doing very good, and I didn't see how I would ever do very good at separating myself from the emotional trauma that the people I was counseling were going through. So literally at the last minute, I mean, we're talking the spring of my senior year, I applied for schools in psychology, was going to get a master's or PhD in psychology, and realized, dude, you like will do all-nighters for theater and you're going to go into psychology. And I thought, yeah, maybe I should look at theater programs. So I applied to 3 programs, I think Northwestern, Yale, and UW-Madison. Got accepted by, I forget if it was Yale or Northwestern and Madison, but only 2 of the 3 accepted me. But I looked at the price tags and went, yeah, that ain't going to happen for the other 2. And, you know, it was way too late for any kind of scholarship or grants or stuff. So I went out to Madison, loved the campus, loved the MFA program. The director, the guy at the head of the directing program, Etta Moore at the time, was brilliant. Esther Merle Jackson, who was one of the prominent, extremely prominent dramaturge in the nations, had worked with Tennessee Williams and Eugene Wilder and or Thornton Wilder, sorry. You know, just knew the big 3 personally and had worked with them on their teams in Broadway. Just a brilliant woman. John Azell, who was a great set designer. I mean, we had such a great team of people at the time that were there. So got my MFA in stage direction and then went out to California for a year, tried to teach at Cal State Northridge. But I realized my wife didn't like it out there too much, didn't like being that far away from family. I wasn't too thrilled with California either. You know, I mean, it's great to be in the biz, you know, and be close to that. I mean, I have friends that went that route, you know, you do too, I know. And it's just, I don't know, you know, it is a business, you know, and you get to do things that you really enjoy every so often. And if you're really, really lucky, you get to be paid a lot of money for doing something you really enjoy. But, you know, it's like 1/10 of 1%, you know, of the people. So I thought, well, it'd be better if I came with Ann, we can, you know, start a family there, yada, yada. Moved into Prairie du Sac in 1990 and saw a ad in the paper that said, we're looking for people that would be interested in starting a community theater. If you're one of them, please call blah, blah, blah. Mercedes Cox was on the other end of that phone call. I told her my background. She said, please come help us. And I was like, I'd love to, it'd be fun. So we, her and myself and Mary Dickey and Leslie McFarlane and a number of other people started Riverside Players together. Got to do a wonderful first show with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe all those years ago with Okla Yankee, who I just ran into not too long ago. Her 6th grade class helped to put the script together for that. And the rest is history. So it's been a fun ride. You know, we don't know where we're going to start out. And I had all these aspirations. I was going to be the guy that, you know, changed the world for theater. And I don't know, you know, sometimes you kind of think, well, what would have happened if I would have gone the route of some of my friends who got there pretty big, you know, went to school with a guy, Dave Kep, who, you know, wrote little known screenplays like Jurassic Park, you know, and so he made it big. Just talking with a friend of mine who's in Berlin, Germany, started comedy improv in Berlin, really the father of that whole scene out there, you know. So, you know, I wonder, yeah, did I do anything significant enough compared to that? So, but having kids is significant, you know?
Yeah, you know, I feel like unless you're looking for fame or something, like I am super content doing theater stuff on the side now instead of as a career. And I know you still are doing things too. And
yeah,
that can be just as fulfilling. So
yeah.
Speaking of that,
really
what is your favorite aspect of the theater? Is it the lighting, the tech stuff? Is it writing? Because I know that you've sort of edited some scripts. Is it directing? Is it acting? Where do you feel fulfilled?
Boy, you know, that's I think I have to say directing, because directing allows you to play in all of it. You know, to me, the director, you know, even from a theater history perspective, you know, that used to be in the 19th century, the actor-manager kind of, you know, attitude where it was people from within the productions that kind of held, you know, captained the whole thing. And I've always thought, you know, that's interesting to me, but I know you guys just did that with, you know, the last 5 years. I think it's really difficult to be in the show and to see the show. at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, and kudos to people who can, you know, the Alan Aldas of the world that do it fairly regularly, and they're able to. But I think part of it is they have huge support staffs too that can kind of, you know, handle the things that you want a director for, right? So, and you guys did too. So that was part of, I think, what was so wonderful about doing it in a community like ours is you had the team available. But I just love that part of being able to kind of craft the whole look and my gestalt or my raison d'etre, to use my French background, for directing is if I do my job really, really well, people don't know I'm even there. You know, they'll just really enjoy everything that happened, and they'll be just kind of brought into the world that you created, and enjoy it. And then on the cast side of it, I really love working, I have to say, with community theater groups in particular, because you get a chance to kind of build a cocoon, you know, around that group of people for 6 or 8 or whatever weeks. And I was trying to tell Cass when we start out, you know, this is our world for the next 6, 8, 10 weeks. This is our world, and we get to craft it the way we want to. So let's start by being kind to one another, and let's start by being respectful, and let's do all those things that we wish the big world was, and have this world be that.
Can we tell everybody that right now?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think, you know, there's so many folks that just need to do more theater, you know, or they need to do it with, you know, folks that aren't. I mean, one of the reasons I got into directing is because I am an actor too. I mean, I love acting, but I really hate some of the directors I worked with, you know, that were just so me, you know, and you're like, you know, I wasn't here to be your fan club. I was here to hopefully do a really cool play. That was one of the brilliant things about Ed Moore, was he was so, you know, your first obligation as a director is to the text, to, you know, honor what the playwright was trying to accomplish. And if you're going to do something that takes that text to a completely different place than where the author meant it to, do a different play, you know, because it's not that play. And that's been such a guiding thing, that it's not about me, it's about the playwright, for one. And if there's a message there that's important enough to put into a play, it's important enough for me to reveal it in a truthful and respectful way. And that takes actors, and that takes technicians, and that takes all kinds of people having that same attitude of, we're here to convey this message that's important to a group of people that will come and watch it, and let's do it as thoughtfully and respectfully and as intelligently and as compassionately as we can, because that'll change the world. That will change the world, you know. It's at least the world that each of those audience members lives in, right? So anyways.
I like to ask some random questions during these interviews. So my first random question for you is, what is a random fact that you know that's totally useless, but you know it?
Oh gosh, I know so many random useless facts. I think I like specialize in, I think I have a book on random useless facts that everyone should know and don't. So to nail one down,
On the spot.
gosh, yeah, that is a hard one. Well, I don't know if this is a fact, but it's a random thing that I have heard years ago that I really like a lot, which is that the furthest distance in the known universe is the 12 inches from a person's mind to their heart. I thought that was, yeah, which is, you know, to get something from here into here, like light years, like warp speed isn't fast enough, you know, just got to really work. But no, what's a random thing, Raul? You really put me on the spot.
Like the human head weighs 8 pounds, like that stuff.
The human head, I don't know that one. I'd have to look that up. See, that's a part of other, as I've gotten older, I'm almost 60 now. My details are just going nuts.
That's okay. You know nothing. You just know nothing.
Nothing's popping out. Nothing's popping out of the network here.
I like the head to heart thing. That's a good one.
Okay. All right. All right. If I think of something later on, I'm going to pop it in there. Okay.
Perfect.
Just to save my,
Are you trying anything new during this moment of isolation? Picked up a new hobby or learned anything new about yourself?
I'm doing a lot of like reading, which I love to read, but I'm a horrible like through reader. I'm like skim something, get bored with that, skim something else, get bored with that, skim something. So I've got about, I don't know, 14 books right now that I'm probably skimming through. I'm doing a lot more yard work than I've done in a long time. Actually working on some front steps for my house with a carpenter from the area, Vern Fowler, who actually did a show with me years ago. So Vern's put some beautiful front steps in, and now I have to stain them and make them look pretty. Boy, I've been a safety coordinator at McFarlands, which has been, talk about being asked to kind of coordinate, administrate the safety aspects of the retail service center, and then have this happen. Like, yeah, boy, that was bad timing. So that's been interesting, learning about OSHA standards and learning about, the COVID situation in a much more detailed scientific way. It's just
Well, just learning how germs, you'd think that you would already know how germs spread, but I don't think that I can look at people in the same way. Like even after this is over, it's going to be hard to know like how easy it is to get a flu from somebody or a cold or just anything that we just normally never thought about.
Yeah.
I mean, you know to like sneeze in your elbow, but like the fact that even doing that really.
Yeah, and this one is
everywhere.
It's problematic because this one is so has been so fueled by media sound bites, trying to make it, and that's kind of natural. Human beings want to try to make things approachable or put it into a framework that makes sense for them. So it's made sense to put this into the flu, arena for us. Yeah. But it's unlike any flu bug that we've seen in our lifetimes. And it's,
right.
You just kind of have to shake your head and go, well, I hope people will at least learn enough to be socially responsible, and
we all just have to do the best we can.
Yeah, I mean, the difficult thing for me, I'm getting more and more like, I wear a face mask now, not because I have the delusion that it's doing me much good, maybe somewhat, but not a whole lot. I'm doing it for other people, and I'm getting to the point now where I'm getting a little angry at the people that won't wear face masks, and right? I just want to kind of say, hey,
personally.
Yeah, it's like, hey, well, especially when they look at me like, you idiot, where did it done me? And I just want to, it's hard to not just want to go, Lord, smite them, because like, come on, people, just work together on this, okay, please. So, but yeah, that's not.
So McFarlands, you've been doing the show mornings at McFarlands through 99.7, right?
Mornings at McFarlands started in 2014, I think.
I mean the radio station, WRPQ.
Oh, yeah, at 99.7, yeah, 99.7 Max FM, sorry.
I wanted to give them a plug.
Oh, yes, WRPQ. No, 99, what is it, Max FM.
Max FM. So you've been doing it for a while. What is one of your most memorable guests, and why was it so memorable? You've had many guests.
Well, of course, Lindsay Giese just stands out.
So that's the obvious
from sheer volume. So, I think probably the ones that have been the most meaningful for me personally have been the series that we did for Memorial Day a year, 2 years back. I had done a show for Badger Honor Flight with Fritz Wittenbach and Stan Tice, a couple of times. I always want to say that the wrong way, just if he's listening. And because of that initial interview, it kind of led to a couple of other ones. And then ultimately I was invited to go to Washington, D.C. as a media rep for one of the trips. And so I went out with, a plane of veterans and interviewed people throughout the day. And it was, part of a four-part series that we did with different vets from different eras. So World War II, Korea, Vietnam, contemporary, Iraqi Shield kinds of things. And then culminated on Memorial Day with this show that was the recordings. I lost my voice. It's literally started getting laryngitis in the morning, and throughout the day you can hear in the interviews I'm going, and by the end of it I had could spit out like a word here and there kind of thing. But it was just I felt so good to be a part of something like that, to be able to pay tribute to those guys, to be there with them during the day. So that has been really meaningful. Still, in fact, that show is still up on the, I think on the website. You can still listen to those series. Shows with Jerry Apps have always been fantastic. Jerry is just such the Christmas shows that we've been able to do for the past few years. I've gotten to know he and both his daughter and his son, Steve, I didn't even know until the first time I met him. He's a journalist and a photographer for the Cap Times. For years, did all the Green Bay Packers and all the Badger games, and still does quite a few of them, mostly the home stuff now. But so he's on the sidelines, best seats in the house to watch all those games. And his daughter, who's Susan. What?
It's a tough job to have that.
Yeah, real tough. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, he's, and he knows everything about it too, which is really hysterical to talk to. And his daughter, Susan, who's co-wrote a cookbook with him. So it's just fun to get to know them. And then more recently, the interview I did with John McAuliffe, two of them now, at the beginning of the COVID thing, and just, being able to be in a forum where we could bring important information to the community and do it in a respectful and just conversational way instead of today, blah, 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 and in your face, which, that's what news has to do. They got to format, they got to get it through. But it was nice to be part of a discussion like that. And I think that's what radio does best. In fact, we're looking at morphing Mornings at McFarlands into a new format, which listen to find more out about that. But I think there's even neater things that could happen down the road. God be willing. So
exciting.
Yeah. So
I love that about, there's a lot that's hard about this time, but there's good that's coming out of it too. And we're being creative and coming up with new ways to do things. And I think there'll be a lot of good that comes.
Yeah, I've been encouraged by, my one dogger, Daisy, who we, thank God we got her too when we did in January, because I can't imagine this without the dogs right now. But she and I go on walks every night, and 2.5, 3.5 miles is not uncommon for the two of us to walk. And I've seen so many cool things around the neighborhoods, signs up in people's windows with, silly poems and, chalk drawings and, posters with, Judy Garland and word bubbles saying, there's no place like home, and it's so neat to see the ways that people are encouraging themselves, but also reaching out to encourage others. And you're really seeing that, you're seeing it's kind of an interesting separator. There's those people that are trying to do that and find ways to really build the connections, and the folks that are just, still, and the folks that are like, nah, it's harder to hide what you really are in a crisis.
I had one of those beautiful moments walking my dog the other day. And a lot of the viewers know my little dog, Rambo. Mm-hmm. But I walked by, and those, the little painted rocks that you can see throughout. So there was a beautiful, I think it had like a little rainbow on it. And it was just like this happy little rock next to a power line kind of post. And I was like, oh, wow, that's so beautiful. And then I looked away for a second. And when I looked back, Rambo peed on it. So now I'm thinking about all the times I've picked up those stones, and if other dogs have probably peed on them before, I can't look at it in a different way.
Well, you'll just have, next time you have to pick it up with one of the doggy poop bags, look at it, and then put it back down.
Oh, so Rambo just ruined that beautiful moment.
You know, dogs have a way of doing that. They just bring it all right back down to earth. You know.
So this is my PSA.
Yeah.
The stones are beautiful, but just
right.
if they're
Please,
next to
people.
something that a dog might want to pee on.
Right. Yes.
Weird.
Please, people, control your dogs. So.
Right. It's totally my fault. It's not Randall's fault. I looked away too long.
Yeah. How are you gonna do? So.
Okay. Well, my kind of wrapping up. This goes by so fast. But I did want to just briefly see or ask, I guess, what are you most proud of about McFarlands during this time? McFarlands has always been such a wonderful pillar in our community and just a wonderful family-run business. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't surprise me that they're handling this so well and doing great things. But from your perspective on the inside, why are you proud to work there right now?
I think, it's the same thing that has kept me there for 18 years. I think ultimately is that before I ever started working there, I knew John McFarland pretty well. He and I sang on worship teams together at church, and I knew his wife Geraldine, who is a saint, literally a saint. I tell him that all the time because she should be canonized just for having married him. But that's our running joke. And but I knew the quality of the people, that they're good people. And I've done training classes with our staff and said, all the things that you want to complain about and can complain about, because nothing's ever perfect. So you have to remember at the end of the day that these are decent people. These are decent men trying to do decent things. And that means a whole lot. I've worked for the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I've worked for Land's End. I know how important that is. But right away when it happened, when people were freaking out and, not knowing what to do and just terrorized, those guys, the first thing was, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? So immediately it was like, well, we should offer free deliveries, and, we should do curbside service, and we should, and these were all things we've been talking about for a while, but it was like, when you don't have the urgency, it's always kind of like, well, what about this? And what about that? And what, so you kind of analyze to try to figure out as many things to make it go right as possible. But this, it was like, no, make it happen, and, and that wasn't just a business plan, it wasn't a, this is a way for us to position us. It was the right thing to do. And they continue to try to do the right thing, and it's difficult with all the noise that's going on. You should do this, you should do that, you should do this. Why aren't you doing this? I commend those guys so much, and John in particular, for having the wisdom to know when to wait and when to just kind of hold it, and let's see what happens, and when to do that. That's a tough thing, and anyone that think that's easy should try running a place for a while and see, seems like any decision you make, sometimes you're going to come under fire for it by someone for some reason. So you just try to do the best you can and be as wise as you can. And I think ultimately what matters the most to me is I'm proud of the fact that they try to do what's right. They care about doing the right thing at the end of the day.
Yep. Great. I agree. That's a beautiful way for us to end this little chat. So
yeah, do the right thing, folks.
Do the right thing. So thank you, Rauel, for joining me today.
Sure. My pleasure. And do a kind thing. And I still didn't think of a random stupid fact. So, oh well, maybe I can post something on the website later. I'll run across, okay?
You can't look up a random fact because that's not.
No, I just have. I'll be on it. I'm my Scout's honor. I will, or yeah, it'll be something that just comes out of. Okay. Did you know? I know one. Did you know that the human eye can see more shades of green than any other color? We are able to differentiate more greens than anything else, and they believe that it comes from because in our development, we had to learn how to differentiate movement in grasses and whatnot for survival, but also to identify, prey or whatever. So, but it's a really interesting thing about our color.
That's a good fact, except if you're colorblind.
Right. Well, then yeah. Although greens are apparently one of the things that you are least likely. Reds are more common colorblind than greens are. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, good. You right under the wire. You did it.
So take care.
Thank you so much for joining.
Cheers, miming. So.
Cheers. Thanks, Rauel.